How to Improve Absolutely Anything by Katie Labedz, Chapter 2, Where to Begin. Start the journey. Start by thinking about the processes or situations that bugs you the most. I mean, one that really gets under your skin. Maybe it's the cycle of washing, drying, and putting away laundry. Maybe it's preparing dinner and cleaning up afterward. Maybe it's that dang report you dread working on for your boss every Friday due by 10 a.m. That thing, that process or task that bugs you the most, that's where you begin your journey to continuous improvement. That's where I started too, in the horse barn. We have three horses. Well, technically, we have two and a half: a draft horse, a big guy named Secret, a blind off the track thoroughbred named Delta, and a mini donkey named Wilbur. We rescued him from a pig farm, hence the name Wilbur from Charlotte's Web. Living in the Great White North, they need horse blankets or jackets during the winter. We only use their blankets when it gets dang cold, a technical term that applies to approximately 6 months out of the year, or when there's freezing rain. By the way, all of the horse blankets in the world seem to be either green, blue, or both, which all show dirt, mud, and wear. Why, horse blanket makers? Why? Each of the horses has at least two blankets, a lighter one like a rain jacket, also called a sheet, and a heavy one like a parka, complete with insulate material. The blankets are stored high on a shelf off to the right side of the aisle in the barn. The shelf is way up there, 6 feet off the ground with two bifold doors to close it up, just so we don't have to see a giant pile of blankets all the time. When it's blanket time here in Wisconsin, I have to climb up on the ladder, pull all the blankets down off the shelves, figure out whose is who, separate the lighter blankets from the heavier. In the past, we tried to make organized piles of blankets with deltas on the left and secrets on the right and Wilbur on the top. It didn't seem to work very well because I still had to pull down each and every pile for each horse. Again, they're all blue or green, and in the dark aisle, they all look the same. And I'm looking at you, horse blanket manufacturers. It's frustrating to say the least. In the cold, my fingers don't want to work. And let's face it, when one is blindly pulling giant horse blankets off a shelf in the barn, one can only guess that it will fall on top of you in the process. I'm happy to give you this tip. Amazon came to the rescue. Amazon has clear, handy plastic bags with handles that zip close, sort of like the bags that a new comforter would come in. I'll take 6, please. Now I could create a process. First, I pulled down all the blankets and separated them by type and by horse. I found a few that didn't fit any of our horses, random no-name blankets that were probably hubby's great find at a garage sale. I put them in a pile to donate. Next, I grabbed some colored labels, tape, and some markers, and away I went. On the top of each side of the bag, I labeled the name of the horse and the type of blanket tucked inside. Of course, the labels are color-coded: pink for Delta, orange for Secret, and white for Wilbur. I folded up the blankets, tossed in a few dryer sheets for freshness, zipped up the blankets and the bags, and placed them on the shelf once again. Now, anyone can clearly see what we have stocked and stored for each horse, and we're able to quickly find what we need. I recently tested this a few weeks ago when a cold front came across Wisconsin, and I'm glad to tell you the process worked perfectly. I smiled inside and with a huge sense of accomplishment. Of course, the horses looked at me funny and couldn't have cared less. They just wanted to be warm and dry, and they don't really appreciate my organizational skills, but my personal sense of satisfaction soared to the moon. So, what bugs you the most? And we're not talking about the people that bug you the most. That's someone else's specialty, not mine. Maybe you're not irritated by messy horse blankets, but what about your vehicle with papers, wrappers, receipts, and miscellaneous food items? How about the endless task of trying to remember 10,000 passwords for every system, every website, and every app you've ever used? Wouldn't you love to have a more organized backpack, purse, or diaper bag? How about actually finding what you're looking for in there instead of rummaging around a black hole of a bag, only to find smushed granola bars and bent paper clips way down at the bottom, when all you really need is a pen? I'd like to teach you an extremely easy concept to get organized. Yes, you can do this, you savvy owner of a utensil drawer organizer. This concept is called 5S. Quite cleverly, there are 5 steps in this process, and each starts with the letter S. Imagine that! The steps are sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. The concept of 5S has been around since before Henry Ford and originated in Japan. You may have heard the common adage of this concept, a place for everything and everything in its place. The idea behind this concept is to identify a place for everything and return everything to its designated space. Like having a designated parking spot in your vehicle for your sunglasses, a bin in your kitchen counter to store receipts, or that giant water container in the corner of your closet where you toss your loose change. Life is much more organized when everything has its own place where it belongs. Try this with me. Sort. In this step, we physically or virtually sort the collection into 2 piles, keep or toss. You've probably seen this process in play. If you've done Whole30, then you know the first step is to go through all of your food and remove what you aren't going to need for the next 30 days. And do you remember the HGTV show that made the participants do the very same thing with a cluttered space that had gotten out of control? Now it's your turn. It's time to dump that bag, take everything off your desk, empty out the closet in your spare room, or open up the home screen on your laptop and make some decisions. Pull that car, truck, minivan, mini something into the driveway, garage, or barn and pull everything out of it. Yes, everything, including the floor mats that haven't seen the light of day in years. Ask yourself and honestly answer, do you really need everything there? Why do you have a power charger for a cell phone that broke and was replaced 2 years ago? How about the 74 virtual folders on your desktop? I know you think you can find everything you're looking for on there, but let's be real, shall we? By the way, it's okay if this takes a while for you to accomplish. And by a while, I mean it's okay if it takes you all of one day, not all week, all month, all year, or multiple years. As you decide where to begin, choose a task that you can realistically accomplish in a day, or you're going to lose your motivation and your momentum. Now that we have a keep and a toss pile, decide right now what you're going to do with the toss pile. Move it out to the garage, put it in a box or a bag, whatever you decide, get the stuff out of your sight, out of your mind, so you won't feel tempted to bring it all back in. There are hundreds of worthy causes that can turn your toss pile into treasure or money for those in need. Congratulations, now you just have your keep pile, and really, that should be a significant smaller pile of stuff than when you started. Set in order. Now that you have cleared off that desk, the closet, the purse, the car, the desktop, take a logical and intentional look at where to place your remaining items. This may cause you to ask yourself questions you may have never considered. Where's the most efficient spot for your computer? Can you realistically and comfortably reach your desk phone? Yes, some offices still have that from where you're seated. Which side of the screen on your laptop do you favor? Like, I like the left. What do you most often reach for in your purse to find? Mine is a toss-up between my credit card and lipstick. What's the most common item where you reach for in your backpack? For me, it's my laptop mouse and my power cord. In your car, where can you place your umbrella or ice scraper so you can easily reach it in inclement weather? Now, don't put them into place yet. Just decide in your mind where you'd like them to go. Envision the most optimal place for all of your remaining items. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first try. Remember, this is continuous improvement, a circle with no end. There will always be a little bit of waste in your process, and you can work to remove that later on. Shine. Yay! It's time to clean up the area before you put your stuff back. You don't want to put your things back on a dusty desk or in a backpack still full of crumpled paper and crumbs of granola bars from days long gone. Yep, that's mine. Take a moment to shine. I remember walking into a manufacturing plant that obviously did not practice 5S at all. Certainly not recently and maybe not ever. Nothing was organized. There were parts stacked everywhere with no labels and no cleanliness and no order. The place was dirty with a capital D. I approached a kind lady working on the line and asked if they'd take time to practice 5S, not because I'm a witch, but because I wanted to define their perception of clean and organized. The lady responded, "Yes, we do. We clean our workstations every day at 3 p.m." And she held up a Windex bottle to my face as proof. Ah, okay, that explains a lot. It's not exactly 5S. They had a solid 1S going on there. You need to implement the other four to make the process work. Take a few minutes to dust, to dump, to vacuum, to wipe down, or even change the background picture of your desktop from the standard Windows blue to something more pleasing. You do you. Standardize. You want to create a standard placement of the items on your now super clean location. Remember, you already thought about this during your set and order step, and now it's time to put things in place. Slide the laptop into the padded slot of your backpack or into the pocket most convenient for you. Move the phone to the far left corner of your desk to the right side instead, in case you just remembered that you're right-handed. Place the desktop icons in logical order. I actually have less than 10 icons on my desktop, and I could probably minimize that even further since I use my taskbar 99% of the time. Oh, look, another opportunity for improvement for me. You can get as specific as you choose with your standardization. I once knew an engineer at Chrysler who used colored tape to indicate exactly where the phone should be on his desk. Like I said, you do you. Before you go shopping for organizational supplies, I strongly encourage you to look for bins and baskets in your own home. See what you can reuse before you buy new. Even some of those containers in the kitchen, the ones that have lids that have gone to live with some of your remaining socks, can be repurposed. If all else fails, go to the dollar store or even a thrift store. This experience does not have to be expensive by any means. Trust me, I get giddy walking into the store dedicated to organization, but I can't afford all those fancy bins in my home and my work life. In my desk right now, I have 5 bins I picked up at the local dollar store, and it cost me, you guessed it, $5 and some change. Reuse before you buy and buy cheap before expensive or fancy. When you think you've completed the set and order step, take a moment to review what you've accomplished. Be sure it makes sense to you and consider whether you can live like that for now or until you improve it later. If you see something that you want to move or change, do that now. Don't wait until later. Do it while you're in the moment, while you can see what you want to improve. If you're brave, ask your partner, friend, or coworker for their opinion, as they may have some things or ideas that you haven't considered. Personally, I prefer to walk away from it for a few minutes and give myself a break, and then come to look at it with fresh eyes. I honestly don't want anyone else's opinion of my hard work, and I'll only get irritated if they try to improve my masterpiece. Best for me to avoid that whole conversation. Sustain. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is the hardest step. Sustain means keeping this up. It means continuing to make sure that your desktop is clean and not adding any more icons because you're in a hurry to save that file. It means putting your pens away in that $1 bin every day. It means putting your credit card away in your wallet or your newly designated location every time you're finished using it. Back in the 1960s, Dr. Max Maltz shared his observations that it took an average of a minimum of 3 weeks for people to adopt a new habit. And the world ran with the optimization of how much it could change in 21 days. Recent studies have bumped that number to 66 days, and one of the most significant studies showed that it can take anywhere between 18 and 254 days. The whole point is it doesn't happen overnight. Change like this can be hard and uncomfortable since it's much easier to revert back to the way we've always done it. Continuous improvement is an ongoing commitment to make something better for you, your family, and your customer. Your family will appreciate a less stressed parent, and your customers will feel more confident if you're organized while pulling up data, presenting from your computer, or even driving them to lunch in your vehicle. You won't regret the time that you spent to strengthen this part of your life. I challenge you to commit to the new habit for just 2 weeks, just 14 days, but it has to be 14 days total, 14 times to get it right. For example, I don't use my credit card every day, which makes my husband happy. So 14 days of relearning the correct place or correct way to put my credit card took longer than 2 consecutive weeks. Remember, you've got this. You successful owner and user of the utensil drawer organizer, you could probably put your forks away, then you can sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Now, how do you define value in your world? What do you value? It's different for everyone. I value time, but my husband values efficiency. My parents value simple, uncomplicated instructions. I have one friend that values money and another one who deeply values a good night's sleep. And she's the parent of twin babies. There is no right or wrong answer to this. For goodness sake, some people still value chia pets, or they wouldn't keep making them. Our values can change in various seasons of life, and they shift with the evolution of new inventions. For example, people once told time by using a sundial, then a pocket watch, then a wind-up wristwatch. They progressed to a digital wristwatch, and now some of us pay top dollar for fitness app, heart monitor, fall detector, step counter, buy your coffee watch. The theme throughout is a consistent value, keeping track of time. How it manifests in our lives, well, that grows and changes. I established my processes because I value time in my life. The faster and more efficient I can be, the more time I allow myself to work on other things that I find valuable, like furthering my knowledge, exploring my creativity, riding our horses, and traveling with my husband on our motorcycles. What you value is important to you, but you should also be able to identify the values of your boss, your customers, and your partner. In a traditional sense, value is something that a customer is willing to pay for. It transforms a product or improves a service and is done right the first time. More on this in chapter 16. So yes, I value my new battery-operated heated gloves that arrived at my house the day after I ordered them. The batteries are fully charged and ready to go when I open the box. My hubby would never value anything like that, and that's okay too. What you value will motivate what you seek to improve. So take a moment to figure out what bugs you the most, and usually you'll find that it points to something you value. The concept of 5S equips you to improve that process so it's even more valuable to you.